So basically, this is what you want at the end of the first session. And this is when I say, so whenever I'm saying first session, it's the first paid session. What you want from the client is for them to have aha moments. You want them thinking like this at the end of the first session. I never thought of it that way. That's what you want. And what you want them to know is that you've got them and that they're happy that they decided to go with you because they feel so hopeful about their future. That's what you want. Did you have a question, Julia? Yeah, of course. So anybody who wants to record any part of this, take photos, whatever, I'm happy for you to do that. You don't need to ask during any part of it, that's fine. Unless I'm doing, you know, I guess you're the person to ask. Is it okay with you?
Is that okay with you?
I don't know. I'll let you know afterwards. But record it now.
Okay, let me know if you want me to delete it.
Yeah, okay. It's funny, in the States, because I always ask permission before I do a therapy demonstration, always from the client. And in the States, my participant said, no, I don't want you to. And it was a really huge, big, emotional time for him. And then he regretted, he said no, because he wanted to have seen it. So he was regretful of that. So at the end of the first session, so
I've got to be both ways.
do you?
No, just
So we'll leave Q&A until after I've done this whole thing. So we'll leave Q&A till after. I will ask if you have any questions. So during this process, what we want for the client, I'll just reiterate that, is we want at the end of the session for them to have aha moments and to feel as if they're so hopeful and they're so glad that they've made that decision to go with you. And you'll see that when we get through all these questions, they're going to be so emotional at the end of this time. They're depleted, they're emotionally depleted. The last thing that they need is for you to put them in the chair and give them some sort of relaxation of feeling relaxed under a waterfall. They really don't need that, okay? Even if they've come to you for anxiety or for whatever they've come to you for, they do not need you to do any more work for them. They've got so much to process at the end of this session. It's a big session, okay? So we've said to the client, we've already given the pre-talk about these subconscious patterns that we're making underneath the surface. So we're going to find out, Deborah, as to how you do this problem. So first of all, what is the problem?
My problem is I don't believe I can get to my complete fulfillment, and part of that I think has got to do with my values, my number one values. And even yesterday I come across as very, very confident. Before I got here, I was in a complete fit of anxiety.
Okay, so
I'm wanting to go.
Okay, I'm hearing a lot of different things here. I'm hearing there's a huge limiting belief here that you are going to knock out of the water tomorrow. So tomorrow, when you're going to be partnering up with your partner, that limiting belief is going to go. But what I'm hearing is the way she does a problem of having a fit.
I never realised until yesterday.
Okay.
Whenever I leave home, unless I'm leaving with my family, I don't want to go.
Yes. So she didn't realise because it's subconscious. So when you say to the client, we're going to work out how you do the problem, they're going to say to you, I don't know how I do the problem. And you can say, of course you don't know how you do the problem because it's at the subconscious level. Okay, so that's what we're going to work out together. Okay. So usually what happens is there's some sort of trigger to begin with. Usually there's some sort of trigger. And this is in your subconscious creations book, in Minds of Dominance. And then there's a thought. And then there's a feeling. And then there's an action. So that is a subconscious pattern. So, Deborah, yesterday, when you felt like you were having a fit, so that was the action. So that's what Deborah is aware of, the action of having a fit. Let's work out, what was the trigger? What happened to begin with?
I don't know. I think it was just the whole process of leaving.
Leaving your home? Or?
Leaving.
So packing?
Packing, my number one value, if you do my values, is my family.
So you're leaving the family home?
So I'm leaving the family home. I'm leaving the family. How will they cope?
Yeah.
What will happen?
Yeah.
I can't leave them.
Okay, so it could have been, that trigger could have been like you're going out with a girls' weekend away. Doesn't matter where you were going,
It's the same.
it's the same.
Until I get there, I'm in a kind of like,
Okay, so leave the family
I'm
home.
excited when I book it.
Yeah. But it was actually leaving the home. So what's the thought in your head?
Plane's going to crash. Anything can happen.
So you're thinking something might happen to you when you leave the family.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm just sort of like, oh, okay. I even asked my husband to come.
So something wrong is going to happen?
I just think it's just, I don't know. I think it's just from being, and I never used to be like this, but I think from being home, being the family, and I've actually looked at myself in the last few months, and even my Mother's Day card, which I got from my husband, was you continue to put the needs of your children and myself first. I even put my dog's needs before my own.
Okay. So basically it's when you're doing something for yourself.
So,
The thought is, what's the thought?
but but then again, I'm spoiled. Like, it's not like I'm completely loved.
Okay.
It's a weird one.
So what is the thought? So we're going back. Now the client can give you lots of different things, but we want to know what the thought is. Okay. What's the thought that you've got in your head when you're leaving the house?
Why do I want to do this? My life's so good.
Why do I want to do this?
I have a huge secondary gain.
So why do I want to do this? But then there's another thought, because you're asking a question, why do I want to do this? But what's the negative thought?
I'm not growing
I'm not growing?
if I don't do it.
Okay. So you're saying to yourself, why do I need to do this? So it's almost like a fear response, isn't it? What do I need to do this for?
Yeah.
And I understand that, because I tell you, whenever I go outside my comfort zone and do something scary, like when I was about to do my keynote in Chicago last October and I hadn't prepared it before the flight, I was, why am I doing this? Why do I keep scaring myself to death? So it's like, why am I doing this? Okay, so why am I doing this? So you're questioning your decision. Why am I doing this? And then how does it make you feel?
Then I think, well, why do I want to? Why should I?
But what's the feeling? That's the thought.
Yeah.
That's the thought. That why am I doing this? Why should I? What's going on? That's the thought. What's the feeling? How do you feel when you're asking yourself that question?
I was very anxious yesterday. I became anxious,
Anxious.
which I don't normally describe myself as anxious, but I was anxious.
Okay. Again, fear response. What am I doing this for?
And I've never been anxious before. I think
Okay.
it was the whole thing that you were going to put me in this chair.
Because I forced her there, right? I got her by the hair and I forced her there. And the action, when you said I had a fit, that were your words. What does having a fit mean?
I actually hit a car yesterday before I got in.
Okay, so you hadn't. So that's the
Yeah,
state.
I
that you
was
had.
in a state. I had to do something, and then I went, oh, okay. I handled that really well. I said, look, I've got to go to the airport. Just give me your name, your number, and I'll take care of it when I get home.
And that's not unusual either. When your clients say to you, oh, last week was terrible, I had an accident. What was going through your mind at the time that you had the accident? This energy that you've got, this is what you bring to you, right? So the action of having a fit was this kind of feeling. What was it? So you had an accident. That was what happened.
Yeah, it was a little one. It wasn't.
But you weren't being mindful of your surroundings.
I reckon he just put his car there. I'm not sure whose fault it was.
So what else in terms of action? When you said you had a fit, what does that mean, have a fit?
Oh, I just didn't want to come.
Okay, you had this negative energy
I
about
did not want to come.
Yeah.
As soon as I got on the plane, it all went.
Okay, which tells me that you need to be here. Doesn't it? When you don't want to do something that obviously is going to help you grow, there's that block, and it happens a lot.
And for the first time
Happens a
ever,
lot.
I actually noticed last night by about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I think from all that energy that went through, I was exhausted.
Of course. So that's how you do the problem.
And my daughter suffers anxiety, and I actually thought, geez, I'm understanding what you go through and why you're tired.
Yeah. So that's how you do the problem of having a fit. To use the client's words, we always use the client's terminology.
The thought process too is, why am I doing this? It's, do I deserve it?
Yeah. And again,
And I think that comes from putting the needs of everybody else first.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. So that's how you do the problem. Now we're going to work out how you don't do the problem. Because there are times when you do have the same trigger, but you actually don't do this problem. Okay, so let's work that one out. So let's talk about a time when you do have to leave your family home, but you don't end up having a fit.
So
What is the thought that you have?
overnight?
Or anything. So the same trigger, but you don't end up having a fit. You react differently because you don't do the problem. Because nobody does the problem 100% of the time. There are times when you don't do the problem. So what's the thought that you have when you don't do the problem?
If I'm leaving the family home with the whole family, I don't do any of that.
Okay. So what about times when you're leaving the family home without the whole family?
Is it just leaving the family home?
Yeah.
Not overnight?
No, just leaving the family home.
Oh, well, every morning I get up and go to gym.
Okay. And what's the thought that you have when you leave the family home and you go to gym?
My
and you're
time.
doing something for yourself?
It's my time.
It's my time. And how does that make you feel?
Cool. I'm exhausted.
Cool. Yeah. And you go to gym. The action is you're actually doing something for yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
So go to gym. So you can see.
Or I walk the dogs, which I love. That's my most favourite thing in the world.
Okay. Or walk the dog. So what we see, I would now say to the client is, so you can see you have a strategy that works for you and a strategy that doesn't work for you. So I'm not thinking of the strategy of what thought she should put in her head. There's a strategy she does that does not work for her, and there's a strategy that she does that works for her. So what we're going to do during this process is what we say. What we're going to do during this process is we're going to get you to be doing more often the helpful strategy as opposed to the unhelpful strategy. So this becomes the first aha moment for the client because it's broken down into, before, all the client can think is that they have to fit. They don't know how they do the problem, but now they know how they do the problem, and they also become aware that they don't always do the problem because they think they do, but they don't always do the problem. Not everyone does the problem 100% of the time. They have their own useful strategy. During this whole process, it's not about the gems that we tell them, this is what you should do. They have their own strategies about what works. Here, this is the key. It's my time. The thought that you've got in your head, it's my time. So no more guilt, this is my time.
And it's quite interesting because when I do that one, there's times that somebody will say, oh, can you do this to me? And I know, it's my time.
It's my time, so that's her thought. So why is this important? And this is exactly how I would write it in my notes, like this, so I could quickly see it. I would be using those words in future hypnosis sessions. This is your time. I would be saying that a lot. This is your time when I'm doing a hypnosis session. I'm using Deborah's words, not my words. Her words are so powerful. Her strategy, why would I sit there and think of another strategy when that strategy is the most important?
Yeah.
So we had a client last week that came to HypnoFit for sex addiction. And he went to a psychologist first. And he was told so many unhelpful strategies. Keep the door open when you're looking at porn. Do this, do that, do that. That's the psychologist's strategies. Doesn't mean it's gonna, he's already got one, I bet you, that works for him, that he doesn't use very often, that he needs to use more often. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? Thank you.
That's okay.
Very true.
Thanks very much for sharing and being open. So, any questions about that?
Thank you.
So at any time, if I put a board in front of you, a chair in front of you, a phone in front of you, feel free to come around and sit where you need to sit. Okay, so any questions about that strategy? So we can see that's how the client does the problem, and that's how they don't do the problem. Again, have a read of Subconscious Creations in Your Mindset Dominance book, which explains it really well. No questions about that? Okay, we'll turn this off.